Hi, thank you for joining me. My name is Gloria Vyatt. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and this is Stampin' Gloria's Crafty Corner. Today, I'm going to continue with the ABCs of Christmas card making. We are now going to focus using the Evergreen Elegance Bundle, and that includes the stamp set as well as the Evergreen Tree Punch, which is quite fun to use as it just continues making a long line of trees for as much as you want to create on your project. We're also going to be using a little bit of help with the pine tree dies from the Majestic Mountain die set. So let's get started and make this bridge card today. Today's project is a bridge card using the Evergreen Elegance Bundle, which is a beautiful set that is in our annual catalog, and it is accompanied with this Evergreen Tree Border. So we're going to start our project off with the base card. So our base card is 4 1/4 inches by 8 inches. And now what I'm going to do is score it on both sides. So I'm going to score at 1 1/4 and 2 1/2. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing. It's much easier to remember 2 measurements than 4, right? So we're going to do 1 1/4 and 2 1/2. There we go. I'm going to fold in, which is a valley, and out, which is a mountain. Same thing on this side, in, out, and then together that's how that will close. Now, this card actually makes a 5 1/2 inch wide card, so it'll fit into a standard A2 envelope. We're going to also use some beautiful designer paper from Peaceful Place. It's a specialty paper because it has this really pretty shimmer silver in it. And you can see all the different patterns that come with this packet. We're going to use this side of one of the designer series paper, which has kind of a tree bark looking design on the back side of the silver foil. And then we're going to use this piece, which has the silver foil Christmas trees. And we'll only need a small piece, as this will be our center of the card. Let's go ahead and get this designer paper out, and let's trim it. We need 4 of these, so it'll be 1 and actually 1/8. I like a smaller margin. Okay. We're going to cut these strips down into 4-inch pieces. You can get 6 out of them, even though we only need 4. And let's set these aside. And then we're going to take a piece of the other designer series paper that has the silver tree, and we're going to make sure that it fits within our panel here, which actually measures 3 inches from this fold to this fold. So we're going to make it a 2 3/4 cut. And let's use this to get most of the trees in, right there. And now I can cut this to 4 1/8. Now I don't want to cut too much of my tree, so I'm actually going to cut the base of that first and then measure the 4 1/8. There we go. That way I make the most of my tree design for the center. So let's go ahead and put those pieces together. All right, beginning with the center piece and a little bit of liquid adhesive. We're going to put this in place. Like that. Then we're going to take these little strips that are just ever so big, 4 inches by 1 1/8. So you're going to fit tightly to the edges, to the margins of the card, the fold. So we're doing 4 of these pieces. Very simple to do. Just very straightforward designer series paper for each of the panels. There we go. And now let's work on the piece that's going to cross over our card like a bridge. So we're going to take a piece of 5.5 inches by 3/4 inches. And this is going to be the piece where I'm going to stamp Merry Christmas with silver embossing powder. And then I'll also use a little scrap to stamp a couple of stars. So let's get out our embossing tools here. I like to always use my embossing buddy. I know we don't sell it anymore, but it sure is handy. And then I'm going to ink up with the Versamark ink the word Merry Christmas and stamp right there in the center. And let's go ahead and do our stars since I already have this set up. Ink that up. And again, let me just put some powder here. I'm going to use these corners because in a moment you'll see how else I'll use this piece. Now, I just realized that I'm leaving a little bit of line, but I'm going to cut these out, so it's not going to be a problem. Let's put our Versamark away. And now let's go ahead and dip this in some powder, silver embossing powder. There we go. I usually use a spoon, but this is just such an easy little piece to emboss. Very quick and tidy there. And just heat this up. And through the magic of the camera, we're going to cut these stars out very quickly. And we're ready for the next step. So let's lay this aside, the Merry Christmas and the stars. And let's grab hold of scrap. This is one of the pieces that was left after I cut my main cardstock, my card base. And so this measures also 5.5 inches like our sentiment piece does. And what I'm going to do at this point is use my Evergreen border. And this is actually a very fun and easy tool to use. Now, let me show you. Right here are some marks that help me keep my cardstock aligned. So first, I'm going to line it up with that position. And I'm going to punch down. And then I have these marks right here, these little outlines that I also can use so that it keeps my punch even and steady. Then I move that over and I get the next bunch there. And you just keep going on for as long as you want your set of trees to roll. But mine, I just needed 3 punches to get that 5.5 inch. Now, what I have found is that if I just use the trees alone, it's kind of flimsy. So I've opted to cut out a piece of window sheet. This is our clear window sheet, and I've already cut it to 5.5 inches. It's hard to see the window sheet, but there are my fingers at each end, and it is about 1 1/4 inch wide. And the reason for that is I'm going to use it to hold my trees in place so that they don't get torn apart or they don't wobble off the card. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue behind each one of these little trees. And then when I lay the trees down, I'm going to actually place them at the top edge of the window sheet and give them that extra height. Because now what I can do with my Merry Christmas sentiment is just glue along the bottom of the trees. And I still have some window sheets left. So I can go right along the bottom there. And I can adhere my Merry Christmas sentiment. Okay, and trying to get that even and make sure that my tree margins stay leveled. Okay, there we go. I can use that grid paper to help me out. There, perfect, perfect. Again, let's set this aside because now we want to be sure and cut out these trees. And look, there's Santa with his reindeer. So we want to be sure and do the inside decorating before we place the bridge. Using my cut and emboss machine and silver foil from the foil combination that's in the holiday catalog, I'm going to place this Santa die. Oh, by the way, this die I took from the Giving Gifts die set. There you go. And there's actually 4 different tags, 2 of them appropriate for, well, actually 3 of them appropriate for Christmas. So it was designed to be multi-holiday. It had the pumpkins for the fall, which was really quite nice. But you've got a choice of 4 different designs for the holidays. So sticking with the alphabet of Christmas card making, right now we're focused on the letter E, but gift giving dies are just around the corner in the letter G. So how appropriate. I'm also going to take a piece of the Evergreen paper and my dies, which I've already adhered them with some washi tape just to hold them in place and to maximize the use of the cardstock. So if I tilt this, I can get the trees in there and I can maximize every scrap of paper. So you can see there, hopefully, that both of the trees are in place. Okay, once we've cut out our trees, and let me bring the third tree out here, we do need to use our little magic brush here and get some of these pieces out so we can see more of the tree. And I have my Santa Claus already cut out. We're going to play a little bit with this. Now this is intended to be part of a label, a gift card if you would. And so I'm going to trim off. I just want to keep a little bit of base to hold it all together. And trim the rest of the frame off. Right there. And to get it to fit, I'm going to angle this cut right here. There we go. So now I have my little reindeer all trimmed out with Santa Claus. I mean, they're going to go across the sky that way. But before they do, let's get our trees placed. One in the center and one for each side. So we're going to pop a little glue back here. And again, I'm going to run it up the center there. And now let's go up close to the top with it. And what I'm doing is making sure that my tree margin doesn't extend beyond the card, because when I flatten it to fit in an envelope, I need for it to not extend past that margin. And then this one we'll put right here. We'll place it between those 2 pretty silver trees. And so I'm going to put glue behind most of the tree as much as possible. So we're just accenting the 2 silver trees and keeping that silver in mind. We're going to have Santa Claus and his reindeer cut out in silver to add to the top of our scene here. And I can angle it just enough so that it fits in that fold within the 2 folds of the center. And just mash that down a little bit. Sometimes I use my silicone mat. Here it is. It's easier to dab the glue so it doesn't stick to your fingers, and it really won't stick. You see the excess glue comes out on my silicone mat. So that's always a good way to mash down on any of your projects that you have to glue down. Okay, there we go. Remember, this is a piece of window sheet. You see, you don't see the glue because it's going to be on the inside. And we're just going to place it like that. So we're going to have the card lay flat and put some adhesive here, or you can actually put it here. That way you know you don't exceed the margins. And let's go ahead and do the same over here. Let's keep that flat and this part flat. Again, just kind of smashing down on it, give it some pressure so the adhesive will take. And then you'll see how it just kind of smushes side to side. So if you want this to be your receiving card, you can lean it so that it slants to the left and you see Santa and one reindeer. And then when your recipient opens it up, they have their card. So the only thing I would add to this card now is covering the back side with a sheet of white cardstock. You could stamp on it if you'd like. Use the trees from the stamp set. Or, I tell you what, let's go ahead and put the sentiment from the stamp set. So this is where we're going to write our message. And let's find a sentiment. It's friends like you that make the season so wonderful. That's perfect. So this one right here, get a little block for it. And let's use that Evergreen ink. It's called Evening Evergreen, by the way. It's one of the 5 in colors for this year. It's friends like you that make this season so wonderful. And I'm just going to put that on the bottom because that way I have plenty of room to write up at the top. Oh, and my little stars, they just stayed out here, didn't they? Let's go ahead and add our little stars. I'm going to use some small Stampin' Dimensionals. And so here we go. Put one of these behind this star. And it just lets it pop out just a bit. Right there. And give it a little bling of silver there. Speaking of blingy, let's go ahead and add some sparkles to it. We're going to add a little bit of bling with these rhinestones. I'm going to get my little putty knife, or not putty knife, putty tool. And plug one there, and we'll put another one here. Well, I hope you've enjoyed making this bridge card and that your recipient enjoys it as well. I'd like to show you one variation of cards that I made with the same idea in mind. I love the way the window sheet holds the evergreen trees nice and tall and just makes for a really nice layout. This card does measure 8 inches in length, so this would have to fit into a larger envelope naturally. But I was able to put a few more trees here, and I did use silver to make the outer trees. And Santa Claus I cut out similar to the one that we just made, but in black cardstock. Okay, well, I hope that you've enjoyed today's project. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a wonderful day.